Welcome to Aligned with Kel the podcast where we talk all things small business. It's a mix of mindset, empowerment, real conversations, and of course, alignment. I'm your host, Kel Quarrell, a businesswoman with close to 20 years of business experience. Get ready for a mix of solo deep dives and inspiring interviews with awesome guests who will share how they have aligned their businesses with the lives they love. Let's dive in to align your business with the life you've always wanted. Welcome to another episode of Aligned with Kel Quarrell. I am Kel, and today I am so excited that I have my best friend and business partner in SheCan back joining me for another episode. So welcome, Shezzy.
Hello, so good to be back. Thanks for having me.
You are so welcome. This is probably going to be a regular occurrence, is having Shez on the podcast. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance. We have no internet in my home at the moment, and so I am hotspotting. So if there is a little bit of a lag upon uploading this, I do apologize. It is not Shez, it is me. And could I please ask that Dodo, you get your shit together? Because you keep telling me on the website that it's going to be rectified in 60 minutes, and it's been 14 hours. So sort it out, please. Yes. But today we wanted to come in and have a chat about the decision to relaunch SheCan, which we did on another episode, which was episode 2, my first guest expert episode. We also wanted to talk into what we're doing differently this time around and the decisions that we are making and what we are being led by in making those decisions. Because I think that's really valuable to get an insight into how people do business differently and why it is they make the decisions that they make. So let's start probably at the beginning of why we decided to relaunch SheCan and bring back live events.
Yeah, well, a couple of things in that. I think, we'd had multiple discussions, and I think one of the things that we shared last time in episode 2 was that we made the decision to leave while we still loved it. So for anyone in business that's not loving what they're doing, I think that's probably the first clue. I think the excitement around us wanting to get back was because of how much we loved it and the opportunity to be back doing live events with a twist, because it's not just live events this time. We actually have online now, which was one of the things we were not committed to doing when we stopped. However, we feel so differently around that now, and know that that's a really powerful way for us as part of our relaunch, and also being able to get into the homes of people that we perhaps haven't been in front of before. So there's that. I know the two things for us was whenever we were asking ourselves a question in regards to SheCan, the answer always had to be, is it simple? Is it fun? And I think we've held ourselves really accountable to that, because there's already been decisions come up, and, you definitely, Cal, have said, is that simple? And, we would be like, actually, no, we're overcomplicating. So we scrap that and we start again until it feels right again. I think that's probably the main
Yes.
aha, when we decided that it was just like, we're stripping it back to what feels really good for us. And I think the underlying thing, which is where the fun element comes in, I think the underlying thing for that is being able to have people that you can always ask, and for you guys in business, have those people you can ask, is it aligning to what I signed up for?
Yes. And I think if we transport ourselves back to the decision-making time of February 2021, and you're so right, we made the decision then when we still loved it. But if we're really honest, we had complicated things back then.
Absolutely.
And I think when we had the conversation around relaunching, and to be really honest, the conversations we had recently in regards to could we and do we want to relaunch actually didn't include a lot of how we were going to do it, but whether or not we were motivated and energetically aligned with doing it again. And I think, as you said before, because we loved it when we stopped, it was a definite yes. But since then, we've then really honed in on, is everything that we're doing being simple, not just for us, but also for the women that choose to join us on the journey. And I've noticed what probably back in, 2021 and prior to that, in that 5 years before that decision, what would have taken us possibly hours of
Mhm.
going around and around and throwing out different ideas, which is fabulous, is now being made in a way shorter time frame based on, is it simple, is it fun?
Right, even down to you and I meeting up together to, have our, brainstorming map out sessions. We don't have the distractions that we potentially used to. Even when we used to physically go to an office, what we would
Yeah,
achieve in a day, you and I are now getting, smashed out in our hour and a half, meetings, which look like this, which
yeah,
look like it's a Zoom call or it's however it is, because it's like, that's what we've got to get done. Let's get it done. Simple, off we go.
yeah, yeah. And I just, I think last time we fell into the trap of trying to do all things for everyone, and being very accessible, which probably came at the detriment of our own health and well-being at times. And so the decision this time was like, how do we reach more people, but how do we do it in a way that aligns with, well, the very big difference in our lives from back then, but also still aligns with that simplicity and fun. And so you mentioned going online, which 3 years ago would have made such a logical, decision in business, but at that time was like, that's not where we want to play, and it's just come full circle.
100%. And it might be part of the growth of us. It might be just the way of the world that people are more willing to learn online. It could be multiple different things. It also could just be, when you're ready, you're ready. And I think
Yes.
that's probably, that it's probably even just how we arrived at the decision to relaunch. Because if you'd asked us even 6 months prior, of course we would still talk about SheCan and all of our SheCan stories, which we have many,
Mm.
but it wasn't about relaunch until we decided it was. So I feel like that's probably the first thing. And I think you said it beautifully about trying to spin all the plates, please all the people, say yes to all the things. None of that was what really aligned with what we loved doing best. So I guess that was just our non-negotiable this time. And I guess that's probably something to anyone that's in business. Don't get caught up in that, oh, you should do, and would you guys do, and how about you introduce, and, you know, great, love the idea, but does it align with where we want this to look? And if it's a no, then it's a no. Whereas last time we 100% got sucked into the vortex of, yes, all right, let's have a go.
Yeah. And I mean, when we look at it, there's like that element of say yes and then figure out how, which is fabulous in certain times. Right now, we're not buying into the should have, could have, would have's. And so, for us, it is very much about being aligned with our decisions. And even in that, since the launch of SheCan 2.0, we have made different decisions than what we did in the very beginning. So when when we first decided to relaunch, we knew that we would have an online platform, which is our Happiness Hub. And that is an opportunity for women to join us on a session once a month, have access to all of the recordings and, different resources, different challenges. We will talk about the current challenge that we are in at the moment with our Happiness Hub members. But it was also about running one event that was ran for 2 days and then one event that was ran for 4 days every year. And that was our initial plan of attack. And we knew that they would be brand new events. We knew that we would be writing all new content, but we also knew that those events would always be progressional and that you need to attend the event for 2 days to get to the event for 4 days. And whilst that's not changed, we have arrived at a different decision in regards to the number of events.
Yeah, because the reality is that, we also have to, as much as we're looking forward, we do have to remember to have a little look back. And as the event is progressional, we are also very aware with the incredible, new and existing women that are coming into our community. 1 2-day may not be enough before you're ready to commit to a 4th. So we wanted to make sure we had a multiple 2-day option, which means, guess what? We've got a second 2-day coming, and it will be in Bendigo, and it will be at the very, very start of next year, right in time for the 4-day. For some people that may want to revisit a 2, some people that the original September 2-day didn't suit. We're very aware that, just because we're jumping straight back into the space and it feels like that for us, that may not be the case for everybody, and that some people it might really suit them just to do a 2-day in September and then come and revisit another 2-day in February. It may be that they couldn't make it to September, so they're going to come to February, then that gives them permission to come to 4-day. And that decision was made on a walk in Bali. Like, there was nothing. It was, we went on the walk, we hit the hill, we opened up the conversation, we walked back down the hill with, yeah, great, let's do that. Which is, and then we were like, let's go to work to find a venue. They wrote back instantly that their date was available. Simple, fun, done.
Yeah. And, from that, there's a lot in that, but we are also both sacral generators. So when when something presents itself and we have the opportunity to respond, we do get the answers in the moment and we act on them. And I think that's the big thing, is that we got the answer. We then got into action. We looked at dates, we got the venue secured, as you said. And we've moved forward from that. It is now live on the website. It's kind of like the wheels are in motion. It's all full steam ahead, right? The other thing, though, I think I'd love to touch on is that there was kind of 2 elements to the decision-making process, and that was what is going to be best for the women that we get to serve and that we would like to welcome into our community that may not had the opportunity to work with us. And so we always say, come and join us for 3 months in Happiness Hub. Check out, what we do, whether or not you align, whether or not you vibe, and then make the decision to come to an event, right? So that's always been the strategy. But the other side of the coin from that is also from a business perspective, right? Is that we also had to reverse engineer our numbers, knowing that our events are progressional. Now, there's going to be people out there that run live events that think we're absolutely batshit crazy, not allowing women to jump straight into our 4-day event if they haven't been to our 2-day from a business perspective. But what we know from our experience is that eases women into their journey of self-development, self-growth, self-discovery, and it works for us. But we also had to be really aware of, from a business perspective and running the numbers in reverse, was a single 2-day going to be the best business decision moving forward. And that also landed us in the same decision of it wasn't good for our clients, but it was also not good for our business. And that's probably a little bit of a different mindset that we've had before.
Oh my gosh, like SheCan is a business, and as much as we love the work, we also, 2.0 said we refuse to be paid with applause, and we've said it before. And that was one of the not negotiables, and it gives us the freedom to say no to other things that we perhaps would have had to have said yes to in the past because we were trying to fund programs on behalf of the clients. So, I think there's been some real growth within us in that, so
Oh,
much more confident in that decision.
yeah. And I think also when you take a step back and you look at that, and as you said, that's our growth in also us from a business perspective, but also from that ownership of worthiness, and respect and all of those things that we have for ourselves and for each other. That's now something we get to impart into our events and share with the women as new levels of growth that we've been going through. And also, I guess, embracing what it is that we probably kept at arm's length previously around the feedback that we would get from women about the transformation and the impact that we'd had in their lives, be it their health or their relationships or just who they are and their belief in themselves. And I think that's probably something that this time round we're going to get way better at and continue to get better and better at, because we always held that at arm's length. And often the response was always like, you did the work, which absolutely they did. But we can now step into that ownership of we were the catalyst, or maybe we played a huge role that we otherwise didn't want to accept before.
100%. And look, the feedback is still coming. And I think this time I kind of align us to a little bit like a product that went off the market and now it's come back, and you're really excited about being able to purchase it again. Because we know that's how I kind of like a polywaffle, a chocolate bar.
No, we're not. No, you remember what they used to do with polywaffles? You remember that? Did you ever hear that? Yeah. Anyway, if you don't know what we're talking about, send us a direct message on Instagram and we'll share it off microphone.
Agree. But I do. I literally, that's how I liken us to. You found a product, you loved a product, it was working for you, and then all of a sudden they discontinued the product. And now the product's back, and it's like, here's an opportunity for you to have that back in your life. And we know from the conversations we've had, and through no fault of anybody's, when you don't have that group of people holding you accountable and doing the do, you stop. And so this was that, oh my God, it's back, I get to do it. And, we are so excited for that part. And I feel like Happiness Hub is a great way for us to just get people back in momentum. And as we've shared before, the live events, the crescendo, that's where it all comes together and you know that you're in the right place.
Yeah. And I think there's been some ownership of us stepping into our truth around we're actually really fucking good at what we do. And I think last time we shied away from that feedback. But being that you brought Happiness Hub up, and it just is a full circle moment in that if you're an OG, like if you've been around a long time with SheCan, you might remember back in 2017, we actually had an online course that was called the Happiness Hub. And so keeping it simple, keeping it fun, we didn't want to like recreate the wheel. We actually took an existing name of something that we'd already had in the past and have created this beautiful environment that we are so excited to grow. But we had our first call 1 week ago. And and it was an incredible call. And we went through our happiness health check, which is a resource that sits inside the members portal. But we also set a challenge, a 30-day challenge for our beautiful members of Happiness Hub, but for ourselves. And this is the thing that I guess we'll do a quick pivot side note on, is that we don't ever ask our clients or the women that choose to join us in Happiness Hub or at our events to do something that we've never done ourselves before. And more often than not, we are participating with you in real time. And so the 30-day challenge, Shez had the brilliant idea of bringing this back, and that was 30 days of no blaming, no complaining, no justifying. Everyone take a big deep breath because the response from the women was a bit like, oh, 30 days. Okay. And so, yeah, right. And then Shez decided to start cold dippers.
In winter. Dilly.
In a challenge. Go, Shez, yeah.
No, I think what's really magical about it is, and then we actually discussed having conversations with, family or people that are around you, if they would be open to joining in with you. And, you and I both laughed that basically for the next 30 days, we won't speak much. That would be how we would get through this. But I think what I found most out of this challenge is just the awareness around how you can easily fall out of habits, how you can fall out of things that you become really actually quite good at. And so it seems so simple, but I implore anyone listening to this podcast to actually commit to the 30 days and just awareness around how it plays out in your homes or in your workplaces or however this looks. Because for us, it's been such awareness. And interestingly, with the justifying, complaining and blaming throughout my family, we've all been predominantly one of those things, which has been, so we're noticing, mine was certainly complaining. My husband, God love him, his was certainly justification. So it's just watching how and having some awareness around how often we've been doing that.
Yeah. And I said on the call 1 week ago, it was like a lightning bolt or maybe a cricket bat around my head. It was just like, oh my goodness, I have been complaining, not just daily, but probably hourly about how cold I am. And I mean, people, I live on the Gold Coast, so let's get real. It's not even freezing, but I've definitely climatized. But I was just like, oh my God, it was like a real aha moment in that. And so just having that awareness, exactly what you just said, Shez, is like when you have that awareness, I woke up the next morning and I normally would be like in my own head, oh my God, it's bloody cold. Oh, what am I doing? I'm off to the gym. Get home. Oh, I'm still cold. Like all of these things. And just having the awareness of don't go down that thought process. The shift in my body, the shift in my mindset, the shift in my energy of just not speaking that low vibration, draining type of it's been fascinating. And the roll-on effect of the awareness, right? And I mean, not going to lie, as I said at the beginning of this episode, I have no internet at the minute. I'm doing my best not to complain about that. But also on Sunday night, our fridge decided to shit itself. So that's fun. But I'm trying not to complain about that. But I'm very grateful for old Betty the beer fridge out the back because we've transferred the food, right? But it is the awareness, okay? Shit does happen in life, and there is times where you are possibly in the moment given a little reprieve to be like, okay, this is really annoying. But it's like being conscious of those things that you're saying repetitively. Like for me, it was the cold and the shift and the roll on effect of where you just pick up other little habits that have snuck in that aren't serving you the best. And one for me has been, and possibly too much information, but taking my phone to the toilet. Like I work from
Yeah.
home, the toilet's just there, and I'll pick my phone up because I'll be like, okay, well, I can reply to people or I can look at Instagram or whatever. And so I've set a new boundary now. It's no, the phone does not go into the toilet with me, but instead I use that very short amount of time just to actually bring all of my energy back into my body and just focus. And like simple but
So
powerful.
simple. Look, I love you for your honesty in that, because I put my hand up, guilty. It's almost like you can get another two things done at once. Like it's literally. So I think there's a challenge in that. There's a challenge to anyone that's listening to the podcast. There's awareness. Like some people are probably unconsciously just taking it there with them anyway. So what a
Yeah,
perfect opportunity to go back to get back into your body. Hell, why don't you use that opportunity as time to do what you're grateful for that day? Like,
absolutely. And
there's so many things in that.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's where the beauty can happen about when you set up the smallest of good habits where you can then stack another good habit onto that. So, like, as you said, don't take the phone to the toilet with you, but when you're in the toilet, do 3 gratitudes or do one gratitude that you can actually feel within your body that shifts your energy. Like things like that. Like, um, don't eat at your desk. Like,
Mm.
choose to no distractions and eat somewhere else. Or, like for me, I've now been going back outside and sitting in the sun and eating my lunch, because what is it that you can then stack onto that? These are tiny little habit changes, right? But that's all stemmed from that one 30-day challenge that we're running inside Happiness Hub, and the shares that are happening in the Facebook group of just, as you said, the awareness.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And like I love that you said, and I think it's when we start doing these small incremental, we are using the word small. What we're not probably acknowledging is the butterfly effect of those and what they're then turning into. Once you start on this journey where you've just decided to commit to things that are better for you and for your life and for your energy and all of the above, it's where else does that then play out in your business, in your personal life? I mentioned on our SheCan stories the other day, I'm committing to, when I'm outside, less time with the sunglasses on. And I know that sounds, it's not some people are like, what do you mean? Like they would normally be as attached to my head as what my phone is sometimes. It is literally, they go everywhere with me, even when they're certainly not required. And it's all about, and you were talking to me in Bali about it. It's about, how's your sleep? Are you getting enough vitamin D into your eyes? And it's all of these things. And then you think, man, I slept 8 hours unbroken last night, you know?
Yeah.
And what are you doing different? Well, actually, I'm actually just spending a little bit more time outside in the sun, but it's also I'm doing these great things for myself. So I'm sleeping more peacefully because I'm so much more better in my own space, in my own mind. I'm sleeping more
Yeah.
peacefully. It's we are calling them small, but they're ending up being massive things with your everyday life.
Yeah. And the other thing that comes from that too is the challenge is not about succeeding or failing. Like the
Nope.
shares that we're getting from the women inside Happiness Hub is that, oh, I didn't do really great today, but what I've learned from it is XYZ. Or I could go and beat myself up because I fell off the wagon more than I would have liked to today. However, I know that that's not what this challenge is about. So there's just so much self-awareness that comes from really putting
Yeah.
yourself into an environment where you're committing to things, but you've also got people there that can be your biggest support system and also your best accountability, because,
Yeah.
it
Even just the
is.
bravery in saying that I didn't get it right.
Correct, right? Absolutely. And I mean, we've been sharing voice messages as we do a lot. And I'm like, alrighty, probably just going to jump in here and have a complain for a second because my fridge just died. So, but it's about the awareness, because normally there wouldn't have been the framing of, I'm just popping in for a quick complain. It would have just been the complain, right? And I mean, I feel like for both of us, we are generally pretty good, but it's been a huge awareness for us of the things that are, we perceive as quite small, but being that you're speaking it, it still has that effect on our energy and on how we're operating. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Love that. So going back to, I guess, decisions, simplicity, fun. Um, that's obviously going to come up a lot next month when we meet in Sydney, for our planning weekend, and obviously for writing new events, because we kind of want that element in our events as well, right?
Yeah, well, absolutely, and we've talked into that. Even, I mean, this is just how much we're making decisions on. Is it simple? We had plans of potentially getting an Airbnb and having some beautiful branding photos done while we were together working, and then very quickly both realised that when we're in it, it's not a bring outfits to have branding photos and time for branding photos. There'll be time for that. This is where we'll be head down, bum up, doing the do, and we may not even have shoes on at some point. So you guys will get to, there'll be photos. We'll absolutely be putting photos up, but that was making it more complicated than what it needed to be. Even
Yes.
in just booking our flights and everything was just like, simple, easy. And yeah, so now we just get to play it out, and I know it's going to be an awesome weekend. I actually can't wait,
Yes.
because
Because
I'm really keen for this event.
yeah, and we knew that, if we were to do it the other way and do Airbnb and to get someone in to capture footage and do photos and all of those things, then the actual reason why we were going and coming together would have been very broken up with pulling our attention to different things, right? And so instead, we're like, no, we actually need to go somewhere. We need to be in a good environment, but we need to actually just lock ourselves down and plan out this event so it's the best event ever, and have that element where we can get up and walk in the morning and put ourselves into state and all of those things. But the simplicity comes from carry on luggage, comfy clothes we feel good in, so we can just lock ourselves down. Yeah.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and that's the best part about having these great conversations and acknowledging if it was simple or not, and being aware that last time, and I think you alluded to it before, Kel, that we overcomplicated things when we didn't need to, and we were absolutely at the crossroad of overcomplication and simplicity, and this time it looks very different as we turn onto simplicity road.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's from coming out of having a break, as you said, still loving it, but also bringing all of our learnings together to just be like, we actually get to choose. We get to do this the way that we choose. And that, I think's been a real, and I mean, the other thing too is that we love what we do. We love speaking together. We love being on stage. And I think when we were given the opportunity to go to different places, because we also love travel. So that's, another, a love of ours, then it was often we found it difficult to say no. But this time we know that we have our events that we will do together. We will do them in a way that really aligns with who we are now and what it is that we want as an outcome for the women that attend. But if someone would like us to speak at their event, then we're very open to doing that. It's just not us taking our events to every other place that people are like, come to our town and do an event, because from a business perspective, I think that's where we got off track.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I think, and we even, I mean, not in our podcast, but we even spoke about this morning. The speaking part was always the no-brainer for us. That was always the thing that was, everybody has things that they are really great at, and that comes very simply. That was always something for us. So that's, absolutely. If it aligned and it worked and it felt right, we would always say yes to the opportunity of speaking on other people's stages, speaking what we know. But I think, you're spot on. I think with our events, we choose when, we choose where, and that's what works for us.
And it also gives us the ability to do what we love, but to have the energy to put into the women that choose to join us, be it at Happiness Hub, be it at our events in Australia or at Bali. And it was when things became really challenging and a bit of a struggle in the back end, that's where we were like, we don't want to get to the point where we don't have the energy to do what it is that transforms people's lives. And so I think that that's part of where that decision making comes from, is like, it's got to be simple and fun. Otherwise, we don't have the energy to do what we're here to do.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So I think that's probably encapsulated SheCan 2.0. Why and how we make the decisions that we're making. The other thing is, we're also big believers in that we absolutely have the ability to change our mind. And I think that's something we love to share with women that are in our community, is that, you can make a decision this week and 3 months down the track, change your mind on that decision.
Well, like we just talked about today. We, our last podcast, we talked about 1 2-day, 1 4-day, 1 Bali. Well, we already know now in our next podcast that we're 2 2-day, 1 4-day, 2 Balis. So,
Yes.
Potentially more. So we, and the freedom in being able to say that and having no stuff around it is so refreshing, because, and I don't ever think we felt like we had to have a story around it, but there was this little, part of us that was like, is that, professional to change it, to mix it up? And I say it shows you are, because, as you said before, the decision was not only for the women that will attend those events or that become a part of our online platform, it was also a financial decision, because, what point would there be running a 4-day if it wasn't in full attendance? So,
Correct.
let's do what we need to do to make that work. So I think the change your mind philosophy is refreshing, and I encourage more businesses to, check out when they're, why are you still doing the same thing if it's not serving? Be okay with changing your mind.
And if it's not aligning. And I think that's just such an incredibly powerful message for anyone in life, is that if you're not happy or not as happy as you could be because you're holding on to a decision that you made in the past, even though there's an opportunity where you could now pivot or make a different decision, like, why? And I think probably 9 times out of 10, the answer will be fear of judgment. I honestly believe that that is the thing that holds so many people back. So, as I said before, we are going to definitely have more episodes around SheCan. I don't know if I've told you this or if you've heard that, but I'm pretty sure I promised that we would unpack Bali on a podcast as well. So that's definitely going to be a podcast episode to come. Obviously, we would love to share about all of the fun things that we do on Adventure Week in Bali, but also what has transpired upon women returning and getting back into their businesses and their life, etc., and all of the learnings that we got personally, but that our attendees got as well. So stay tuned for that episode. But thanks so much for joining me, Shez. I absolutely love having you on the podcast.
It's just so easy, mate. And as you know, anyone that's willing to listen, we could talk about SheCan until the cows come home. We love it. And
Absolutely.
Don't forget to look up Polywaffle.
And if you don't know and you'd like a laugh about the story about Polywaffles, jump into the SheCan DMs and we will share that. But also, reminder, we are 1 week into a 30-day challenge. 30-day challenge of no blaming, no complaining, no justifying. If you are up for the challenge, head over to SheCan on Facebook or Instagram and let us know in our DMs. We would love to know that more people are on the wagon with us, and be sure to share what you're learning, what awareness you're getting. But also, we will have all of the links to our events and also Happiness Hub, our online platform. We will share all of that in the show notes. Happiness Hub is $27 a month. So it is, such an affordable way to start or restart your personal development journey, and we would love to welcome you inside the community. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Shez. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Aligned with Kel Quarrel. I hope our conversations have inspired you to be bold in the pursuit of your dreams. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you shared it with the business women in your life and took the time to leave a review. Your feedback is like an ice-cold glass of Prosecco, always welcomed and always appreciated. You might even consider giving the show a follow. Until next time, continue to take bold action towards aligning your business with your deepest desires.